are. All right, here we're back. We're going to add the ability to draw right now. We had a discussion in class about how to best implement this. We're going to keep it straightforward. There's a fancy way to do it I thought was cool, but we're going to bag that and just be a little bit more verbose, but a lot clearer. So what are we switching on? Switch is like, what variable thing do we want to choose our pathway? Which one tells us which way to go? I always think of a train yard. Well, yeah, something like that, but we don't have to get the die because we are a die. See right there? Yeah, we have to get the value. But since we're a die, can't we just say value? Because we are a die. It doesn't like that. See, it says value has a private access and die. Okay. Should it really be private? No. Should it be public? And the answer is no. Well, what's the only other one? Yeah. Protected. That means your children can access it directly, but no one else. So we have to go into our die class then here, and then we have to make our value here, instead of private, we're going to make that protected. I usually wait until I need to make it protective rather than trying to anticipate that. Since I want this to be, I don't know, somewhat consistent, it makes sense the number of size should be protected as well, meaning that we want our children. We still need that for classes outside that aren't dies, to be able to get the num size and get value. But if we're a child of this class, this die class, we just don't want to have to call these, because there's a lot of extra overhead when it comes to calling a method rather than just accessing it directly. So we're trusting our children, okay? So that's what we're doing there. Okay, so now we go back to our six-sided die to see if that goes away, and it does. See that? So it's a really good example of when to use protected. You don't use it very often, but when you have a child class trying to access a instance variable from the parent class, it's probably most of the time okay to just access it directly. Okay, so what are our cases? Well, we know that the value should be between 1 to 6, right? So we do case 1. Hey guys. Yeah, just a moment. Let me just pause the recording. Our cases are going to be 1 through 6, right? So so what do we need to do if we need to create a 1? Well, we've got some work to do. We did a little bit of design, and we decided we're going to divide up our toggle buttons into kind of quarters. We're going to slice them up in the corners, both vertically and horizontally. But we need to have this concept of a unit. So we're going to say int. Should this be constant? Well, for now, we'll not make it constant. And what is that unit? Well, we are a die, right? We're inside of a toggle button. We really need to figure out how big the toggle button is, right, to compute this unit size. Problem is, we have no way of asking the toggle button how big it is, because all we know is we're a die at this point, and there's no object reference back to the beginning. I'm curious to see how I did that in the other version, because it has the same problem, and I want to see how that was communicated. So this is a previous implementation. Okay, so we're sending in the random number generator. We don't need that anymore. Here we create it. Here's our draw method. Oh, interesting. So it's just hard-coded. That's kind of lame. That means it doesn't scale very well. But here is our square. This is our x and y coordinate, and then that's the size of it. How big is our buttons? Well, if we look at our design, Let's go back up to our design here. I'm just going to the dice frame, looking at the design. And I click on one of these things. We see that it's, what's its dimensions? I think it's 80 by 80, but I'm not sure. Let's look at the code here. I'm just looking for some kind of size property.
It said 80 by 80 in like the horizontal and vertical thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, horizontal and vertical. So is that, I guess they're in alphabetical order, so horizontal, yeah. Where does it say 80?
Down a bit more.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, there they are. Horizontal size, vertical size. So we got 80, right? Now, if we were doing, say, this game and we wanted to work on any platform, including phones, and then this whole user interface would scale itself based on the size of your screen, then we would certainly spend a lot more time here making this scalable. But since we're just doing it on a PC, we're going to cut some corners here and not do all that fancy scaling coding. We're just going to hard code it. So basically, we're just bailing on that. So we know that our dice are going to be square. What we're saying is that if our interior position is going to be 10, 10, that's the top left corner is our origin. So we go 10 over on the x-axis and then 10 down on the y-axis. That's going to be the start of our square. So let's try that. So we'll go to our six-sided die now, and our unit then we'll say our unit size is going to be 60 divided by 4. Now does 4 divide into 60 evenly? Let's say 4, 2, that's 20, that's 5, yeah. So yeah, that fits in, doesn't it, 4? Is it 15? Yeah, so 15 is our size. You always want to be careful when you do math, especially integer math, because what it will do is it will truncate stuff. And then we have our unit size. Now knowing our unit size, we can do a little bit more fancy math. You could just write 15 there, but I'm just trying to show my thinking. Yeah, you could say, if you even want to be a little bit more clear, you could say, well, I guess that would be fine. Let's say this. So if the case is 1, the question is, how do we create a circle and draw it in the case where it's a 1? Well, the first thing it wants to do is it wants to make a square, because we want to put a box around it. So let's do our box as well. We'll call this one side, and each side of our square is going to be 80 pixels, I guess. Okay, and then let's see what I'm doing in the other one. So I'm just looking at this one. I'm saying my square is 10. That's my x, y, and then 60 is my square size. So my side is 60, and I set my line width. Oh, I see. And then I draw my square. Well, that's easy enough. The other thing we do in this draw method is we take a G2, we take the G and we convert it into a G2. We're not doing that. We're not doing that at this level. So so what I'm thinking is, first we have to draw our square. So let's do that first. So we say, well, we could say square. And notice it doesn't know what a square is. We have to tell it which square we want. Now realize that java.awt has a square class, or probably doesn't, has a rectangle class. So that's why we're seeing shapes_lib.square. That's the one we want. And it'll add that import up at the top. We'll call this one SQ. We'll say new. And then remember the parameters for a new square would be here we say square again. Our parameters are x. We're going to go in a little bit. Y, that's down the screen a little bit. And then the size of our square is going to be 60. So it's going to be smaller. Or instead of using 60 here, let's say our side length is 60. I'd rather use the variable name so that you can see that. We also want this square to be relatively large. Let's just try drawing the square. We have graphics G, right? So we can say G or SQ.draw, because the square knows how to draw itself. And then what do we need? We need graphics G to pass in. I think we left it like that. Okay. So let's see if we actually draw our square. It's going to be interesting. Oh, look, there's our square. Isn't that cool? It starts to work.
Does your guys' compiled?
I don't, but are you in the 6-sided die code?
Is the dice button hold button array? Is the dice toggle button that we're making right now?
Yeah, we're just creating we're adding the ability of a die to be able to draw itself. So we've created a child class of die called die 6-sided, and we've told it to, and we've added this draw method to it using our shapes library.
Is hold button array dice toggle button?
Hold button array, yes. Those are all dice toggle buttons. All right, so we draw our square. That seems to work, except it's a little bit skinny. The line is kind of skinny. So how do we make the line thicker? Oh, if you remember, we could say square dot set line width. It takes a float. Floats are weird. So you would say the letter F, and then you say 3.0. Not often. It's when you have a lot of them, and I'm just trying to remember where the F goes. I think it goes there. Is that right? Let's see if it's a little bit bigger. Yeah. See, that looks a little nicer. So our whole toggle button is 80 across. We've gone in 10 pixels and down 10 pixels, and then draw a 60 by 60 square. That's what we've done so far.
And it still crashed.
Yeah, what's your compiler error message say?
Right again. Exception in thread AWTQ.
Yeah, so you have an exception being thrown by the drawing, but yeah, you're trying to draw a die that doesn't exist. That's the problem. So it needs to be created first. Okay, so now our line's a little bit thicker. This square is going to be drawn on whatever dice, whatever we roll, it's going to be drawn. So now what we do is we say, well, how do we draw a circle in the middle of this thing? So you would say, well,
Then why does yours work?
well, let's pause here and we can find out what's going on. Hang on a sec. Try not to interrupt the video. Okay, so we're going to continue on. Yeah, question.
I'm actually trying to figure out a problem I have with the code. I put a breakpoint, but where it got, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to add something or take something out.
Okay, I'll come over and help. Just let me shut this off for a sec. So next week, let me start the thing. So next we want to that to go away. We want to draw the first circle in the middle. First we have to create the circle. It might be good to just create one circle because the circles are all the same size. So maybe we do that. We're going to create a circle. Do we have a circle class? We do, right? So we say circle. Of course, it doesn't know what circle is, so we have to import that. There's a couple of them, but we're going to do this one, circle. That's the one we created. And we'll just call it pip, I guess. Equals new circle. Now, circles are... So circle pip, we say new circle. What do we need to give it? Well, x and y and I guess the size of the circle. Remember, the circles are specified by its center point. So where do we put it? We don't really have a place to put it yet, but we can say 0, 0. And we'll give it a size of, well, 15 is going to be the size of our unit. So maybe we say a little bit smaller than that, say 13. We'll set the x and y later. Okay. So there's our circle. Now we want to draw it, but we have to set its position. So we can say this. We can say pip dot set x. We want this to be the center of our square. So our square is 60 by 60, but again, our origin is actually not the squares, it's the toolbar button, or the toggle button. So you would say, oh boy. I'm doing the equation in my head. You would say, for the x-coordinate, you would say 60, now you say 80 minus 20. That gets you 60, right? And then that's our kind of our starting point. And then you take that 60 and you divide it by 4, which is our unit size. So maybe the way to say this would be 20, that's or 10, plus, well, let's see, we want this to be in the middle. 1, 2, 3. So maybe it's 2 times our unit. Okay, so that's our x-coordinate. And then do the same thing, pip dot set y, and it would have the same equation. And again, I'm trying to place it based on the top left corner of the toggle button. Okay. Once that's set up, we can just tell the pip to draw itself. So we say pip.draw, and we pass in G. And that's the end of our case statement. So now it's only just going to draw ones in this case. All the other ones, it's not going to draw anything. Let's see if we get any ones. We got lots of ones. They're all ones? Oh, we got a Yahtzee on the first roll. Did you see that? Yeah. Oh, it is, huh? That's way too big, though. See how big it is? I wonder why it's so big. We said 13. That must be the radius. Oops. Well, maybe, yeah, 7. 7 or 6 or 7 or 8. Let's try that. Yeah, that's better. That looks nice. But a couple things we need to do with the circle. We have to tell it that it's filled. So we say set, we'll say pip dot set filled. We'll set that equal to true. And then the default fill color is black, so we don't really need to set that. So let's try that. Ooh, it's white. Default fill color is white. So we do have to set the fill color. So we say pip dot set fill color, and we say color dot black. Doesn't know what color is, so we have to tell it. Java awt.color. Okay, so now we have this pip that we're just going to move around based on, so go, hey, we've got ones. Do we really want to have ones? We'll have to think about that. But we say roll. And we can see every time we get a 1, we're going to get a a circle, but every other time we get a number. Right? So it looks like ones are working. What would you do in the case of 2? You would say case 2 colon. Yeah, what would you do, Jacob? Yeah, this is bad. Don't forget not to put breaks in. Because if you don't, if you get a 1, it will flow into 2, and you'll get 1 and 2 at the same time. Let me just demonstrate that. If you forget the break, what you get on the screen might be surprising. The code looks fine, but then you realize it doesn't work right. So pip dot set x. Okay, set x. Well, where's x for this time? For 2, it's up at the top right corner. So we'd say 10 again, which is our margin. And would it be 3 times unit? I'm just guessing here. I think so, whatever our unit is. Why am I not putting parentheses here? What will it do first, the plus or the multiplication? And the answer is it's the multiplication. It has a higher order of precedent, or if you're talking about order of operations in math class, it will do multiplication before it does plus. So that's what we want, so that's why we don't put parentheses. So pip set y, and then here, again, it's 10, which is our margin, plus, well, I guess just unit, because we're up at the top. Remember, y is upside down, so we'll do that. And then we'll draw our pip once we have it in the right place. So instead of just creating all these pips all the time, we're just going to have one pip, and we're just going to move around and have it draw itself. Okay? Okay, so if we try that, what you'll note is, see how the 1s flowed into 2? So it's not only drawing the 1s, but it's also drawing the first circle for the 2, which isn't great, right? So that's what you see when you forget to put in the break. But now if we put in the break...
Well, we probably can make an if statement to make sure we can go down.
Yeah, well, that's what the switch statement is for, so you don't have to do an if statement. So,
I was saying put an if statement inside the case.
so here we see we have a 2, right? We haven't drawn the other circle yet, but you can see that it's not drawing the 1 as well. Okay? Okay, so let's then draw the other one. So I would copy this chunk of code and then here. This isn't very elegant. We're just hard coding all these numbers. It'd be nice if this were a constant. Call it margin or something. That would be nice. All right. Okay. Bye, ladies. But we'll do that later. Here too, we want to set our breakpoint, and then we'll see if we get nice looking 2s. So roll. Nope. Oh, we didn't change the equation. Yeah. So I got to get this on the bottom of the screen. So this would be unit, and this would be 3 times unit, because it's the y coordinate. Okay, so let's try that. Roll. There's our 2. We got 1s and 2s showing now, okay? Okay? That's cool. You can see as we add each pip that we have to, each case is going to get longer and longer. And this is the part that bothered me when I was coding. I said, well, maybe there's a better way to do this, right? And here's case 3. In the case we get a 3, what do? Well, we would do these 2, right? And then we do this one as well to get 3. So again, a lot of redundant coding here. So anytime you're copying code like this, you got to ask yourself, would it be better to put this into a method so we don't only have to type it in once? So we roll it. There's 1. There's 3. Hey, wow. There's 1 and 2. 1, 2s, and 3s. Okay. So all I did was combine these two for 3s. But again, a lot of redundant code. Here's 4s now. So case. So with 4s, you'd rather have an if statement?
No, I said you forgot the break statement.
Oh, the break statement. Yes, you're right. I keep warning everybody and then I forget to do it myself. So 3 is just like a 4, or 4 is just like a 3. We got the 2 outside ones. That's these 2. But we have to do the other corners. So then we need 2 more of these. We haven't done any of these corners yet. So what would I change? This would just be unit, because we're doing top left. Top left. That's top left. And then here's bottom right. We'd say 3 times. And then don't forget your break statement, like I said. Break. See if we get our 4s. Roll. Ooh, that's a good roll. There's our 4. See? But as we add each pip, you see that the number of circles we have to draw is growing each time. And this is code that appears rather redundantly. So with 5, again, it's kind of the same as 1 or 2. And well, could you? I wonder.
We could like maybe program an algorithm to make it faster.
Yeah, I just don't like this code. We'll tidy it up later, but I'm just trying to get it to work. So 5 is just like a 4, except you add the middle one. Remember, this is the middle one, so we'll do that. And again, this is the kind of code that prompted me to come up with a better algorithm. At least I thought so. Okay, so now if I stop the program, yes, we say go, say roll. We should have everything but 6s. Yeah, looking good so far. See how quickly it draws it? We're drawing these faces. We're not showing bitmaps. Now, typically what you do is you get a bitmap and show the bitmap. It's faster. You don't have to draw it. But you're not seeing anything slow here. It seems relatively fast enough. Okay, so finally our 6. Well, our 6 is like a 4, I guess, but with a couple more things in it. So I'm going to grab the 4 code. And I'll paste that in there, and we'll call this case 6. Case 6. Okay, so we have 4, but then we have those 2 middle ones that we have to take care of. So let me do that. So the middle ones in the column we haven't drawn yet. So we're going to have to say, well, for the x-coordinate on the left side, it's just unit. For the y-coordinate, though, it's 2 times unit because we want it in the middle. So that makes sense. And then, again, now this time for x, like I say, I'm just doing the math in my head. This would be 3 times unit. And then 2 times unit down. Draw it. And a break. So we try that. And now we should have them all covered. Notice that our circle size with the 6s, they tend to blend into each other. I really don't like that. So how would you fix that? Well, we make our circles a little bit smaller. So instead of 7, I'd make it a 6. Because we don't want our circles to overlap like that or touch. I guess that's okay. I kind of like the bigger circles, but
These are more like actual dice though.
yeah, I think those are fine. Of course, this number in the middle is a little bit annoying. So how do you get rid of that? Well, we have to go to our roll button for that. But before we do that, I do want to talk about this code. It's again pretty awful because it's not clear what we're doing. And then another thing we don't have is a default. Every time you put in a switch statement, at least for me, I always put in a default. Default is your catch-all. Say you get a roll of a 7. I know this is a 6-sided dice and you should never get a roll of a 7, but say you do. It'd be really nice if you could tell the user that something bad happened. So what we could do is we could draw something really strange. We could draw, what could we draw?
We draw the word no.
No, yeah. We've got to use one of our shapes that we have. We've got our pip, right?
Say something insulting to them.
No.
No, I'm thinking we have squares, we have circles. We could do a triangle.
Get 4 ratings.
We could do a triangle. No.
Get 4 ratings.
What?
Can I get 4 ratings?
Yeah.
I feel like people like it when the game insulting sometimes.
Yeah, but not.
In like a humorous way.
We have squares, we have circles.
Like
Why don't we just put in a black square or something? You know,
I don't want to put it.
or typically what you would do is you'd throw an exception right here, right? But again, you'd have to catch the exception, and that would be bad. So maybe we just say this. We just say system dot out dot println. You can say bogus dice roll when drawing or something. Some kind of indicator that something bad happened.
Are you okay with profanity?
No.
Okay, I'll try it.
I was going to say HE double toothpicks, no. Use profanity to say it. It's like, I never swear. I swear. Just directly contradicts itself. Okay, so we say break. Why do you put a break on the last one? Because it doesn't have to be the last one, so if somebody moves it or puts something after it, you want to make sure you don't flow into that one either. Okay, so that's the end of our switch statement. Our switch statement is ugly, 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 but it does work, and we're getting rolls. But now we want to shut off. Yeah, we can't put profanity in our code. It has to be school appropriate. Okay, so here's what do we do here? Let's see. We want to take out the numbers. So where do the numbers get written out? I guess that's in the roll button.
I have an idea.
Yeah, let's go to the roll button.
I actually did this once to make sure that they were blank when we get started. But
Yeah.
we could do is like every single time is just have like a weird for each of them that just turns into one.
Yeah.
Like your is probably better.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking for the toggle button or the roll button. See right here where we do the roll button, and we set the text based on what we rolled. All we have to do then is we don't have to do this now anymore. So we could, so we only have to write it when it changes, right? So here, I don't think we have to do any of this anymore because the dice draw themselves, right? Okay, so maybe we just comment this out. I'm just being careful here, and I'm just commenting out this chunk of code. I'm using a block comment because we have embedded end-of-line comments. But we don't have to draw the number anymore. Do we have to roll? Oh, see right there where we roll? See, we still need to roll the dice, so that's not going to work. Yeah, that doesn't work. But we don't want to set the text. So how do we roll without setting the text? I think we just want to do Yeah, we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here. So what I would do is I would delete all of that and this parenthesis, okay? We still want to roll, and when we roll, it will display itself, I guess. But we don't want to send the text out anymore. So now if we do that, we get our dice rolls. Now, it's a little bit disconcerting at the beginning to always get ones. That was strange. Did you see that? Ooh, there's a problem then. Ooh, that's not good. Check this out. We roll, right? And we roll again. Notice they didn't change, but when I hover over them, they change. Ooh, that's bad. What's the problem here? Yeah. Right. So right here, then, we have to tell the windowing system that these need to get repainted because we changed the numbers they come from. So we say repaint. Can we do that here? Repaint. But what are we repainting? The whole user interface? This will repaint the whole frame. Do we really want to do that? Or do we call repaint at a small...
We called the repaint on the whole button already.
Well, here it's going to call repaint on the whole window, which is a little bit overkill. Yeah, see, those are being repainted.
I mean, I think it works.
What else? Here we find.
Well, that mine's crashing.
It's not very efficient to put the repaint right there.
Okay, the reason why mine is crashing is clear and disable hold
Hold
button.
buttons?
Hold toggle button.
Yeah, it's probably a wrong name, or maybe they haven't been initialized yet. Okay, so this may not be the best place to put repaint. I'm going to comment it out. I'm going to try something. I think, where would you call repaint, though? Where would you call it? I don't know. Here's our dice toggle button, right? You don't want to call repaint within paint component because that's what repaint causes, is paint component to call. So it'd be endlessly calling itself. Do you want to repaint when you build it? No. But we don't have a way to signal that we need to repaint this thing. Yeah, so we're kind of stuck here. So I guess we have to do it at the frame level. It's going to look really bad though. So we might have to address this later. So I'll just put a to-do then here to say, see if we can move this lower in the processing. Yeah, because again, we're repainting the whole window, and I don't think that's what we want. Okay, but now we have our dice are kind of rolling. Now, are they animating? The answer is no. But they are rolling. Animating the dice is going to take a little bit more work. So I'm going to leave it like this for today, and then we'll talk about animation next time. I think that's enough for today. But it works. I'm excited. That's neat. So we used our shapes library to do this. It might be nice to have a way to show clear buttons. How would you show clear buttons? Well, what you could do is in your dice, remember our default value, if we don't specify anything, is a 1. See right there? We always set the value 1. But if we set the value to 0 as the default, what would happen? Let's try it. This could be completely disastrous. So I'm in the die class, and I roll. I say roll. Notice I didn't get any circles being drawn. Ooh, look at that. Okay, 4 of a kind. I say roll. So that first time when I start up, that's what I'm trying to avoid, is all the ones. Notice it's not doing anything, but if you look, if you look at the output window, which is here, see it says bogus dice roll when drawing. Why is it saying that? Because 0 is not a valid dice roll. But 0 is a valid state for our graphical dice. So maybe what we do is in our dice toggle button, no, in our draw event for our die, where did we put that? This one, draw 6-sided. We actually put a 0 element. And what we'll do is we just won't draw anything. So here we say case 0, which you should never get, but except right at the start, I guess. Here you just say break. And so what you're doing is saying, so don't draw anything if the die hasn't been rolled yet. So we'll know it hasn't been rolled yet because it has a value of 0. So 0 is a valid value for your dice, even though you can't roll a 0. It's a starting position. And then that solves our problem about seeing the ones when we first start out. But now the game is, I think it looks a lot nicer with graphical buttons. That's why we made the button so big, is so we could make the graphics part on it. Here's a small straight. No. And then we say, small straight, yay. I haven't coded that yet. So lots of good progress today. I'm pleased with the way it turned out. Next time we'll make them animate.